and I will create a new template, and we'll call this test partner import res partner address. And again, the target table is res partner address. We want a header, and we want to update and create new for each row that we import. Okay, so I will save. Now what we're going to do here is the first field is we will relate the contacts or addresses, the res.partner.addresses, to the res.partner. And the way that we do that is, you'll be familiar in OpenERP with the fact that when you are linking to objects, you will do so with a many-to-one field. So the res partner addresses are linked back to the res.partner with a many-to-one field, and in this case it's called partner ID. This is a very common principle in OpenERP. So I will select that. Now the way that I want to relate to this is popping up some additional options. And many-to-one fields pop up 3 options for you, and I'll review the other 2, database and subfield, later. But in this case I will choose a template. And the easiest way to think of needing to use a template is a case of whenever I'm importing some data where I first need a particular record to exist before I can create the next record, this is the type of relation you will use. So if we were creating a customer manually in the database, we would first type in the name, let's say, and then we would save. That would give us an ID for that customer, and then we would be able to add additional addresses and whatnot. Now that isn't perfectly technically correct, but it should deliver the necessary message. So in this case I'm importing first the partners, and then I will create the addresses against those partners, because those partners either do or do not exist. Okay, so I relate to an existing template, and in this case it is the test partner, the res partner, which will be first in the sequence of import. Okay, and this of course is a key field for updating, because I want to relate all the contacts, all the res partner addresses created to the partner name, partner ID that is created with the first template. Okay, so I'll save that. So the next thing I need to do is examine my CSV file and have a look at the rest of the columns. So in column 2 I have address 1, column 3 address 2, city, there's country, the contact name, and email address. So we're basically just banging in a lot of data here. So I will create these template lines. In sequence 1 we had the address 1. So in OpenERP that's street. This is not a key, it doesn't need any default, so we can save that. The third column was address 2. So in OpenERP that is street 2. What else do we have here? Address 3 is blank. The city is in column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So column 5 is our city. Again, the sequence obviously is referring to the column. So choose that, save and close. I like to save things as I work. Column 6 was the country. Now a country in the database is a many-to-one field, and you can see how, as I've selected that, it has popped up again with the relational field settings. Now the data I have in my database is consistent with the name of each country in the database: United Kingdom, United States, France, as an example. So what I can do is I can relate this field to the subfield in that model, which, if you know OpenERP, you can quickly check here. This is the res country object, so you can see it there. And within the res country object I have a code, GB and FR, etc., or I have the actual name. So I will relate to the name, and I will save that. And then I have a contact name and an email address. So let's add in here the contact name, which is in column 7. And this just goes under the name field, contact name. And the email address under column 8. Now one thing we're going to need is we're going to need a key to uniquely identify each one of the addresses. So you could either use the contact name or the email address, because those are normally a unique identifier. Unique meaning obviously the city London is not unique in this table. So identifying a unique key for each of these records is a good way of ensuring that things are only done once each time it needs to be. Also, you can see that we've already selected the partner name as a key field, so it will use both the partner name and whatever other key we select to uniquely identify each row. So we'll select the email address and save. Okay, so I'll go into the database here and I'll delete these customers. Close this down. So now that I've defined the templates, the next thing I'll need to do is define my template chain, my import chain. So partners and addresses is the name of the import. I need to select a file, and of course this is the file that I was open in Excel at the moment. So add that to my import chain. Tick the header box again. We need to tick that in both cases. And next we need to define the templates. So the templates are simply a sequence of the templates we've just defined and when they will be imported. So again, because we need to build relations between data and we're using flat data to start with, we will specify a sequence in which the data needs to be imported. So in this case we start off with the partners, and the second in the sequence would be the addresses. So I will save that, and in theory when we click on data, import data, it should work. Now it might also give us an error. No, it has worked. So both of these little buttons here show results. I will click on the res partner, and just as we have just defined there, it's got our company, and then it's got each contact, their email address, their country, street 1, street 2. If I toggle between the other contacts, I can see them in the database as well. So that's working nicely. Just as a quick example, let's say for example we wanted to set all of these as the invoice address. Here's an example of where we could use a default. So we know that the type is a field that defines that. Let me just quickly show you what I'm talking about here. Save. In each particular contact we have a type field here. It's a selection box: invoice, delivery, contact, other. So that's not populated at the moment, but if we went back to our template, this is an example of a default. Now we know that the invoice selection field is called this, and we specified that as using only a default. So if we save and rerun our import, it should have updated every single customer contact address as type invoice. So there you go. You can see type invoice has been set. If I look at that list here, okay, it's not showing that particular field, but I go next, Hector, Sarah, the blank one, they're all set to invoice, invoice, invoice. Check the next customer, they're all set to invoice. Okay, so that is the first basic example of importing a partner. The next example will review how to import a sales order.